And that to me is really the work of the true alchemist, because amidst uncomfortable ground, you are able to remain composed and in your inner essence and truth, that the fears in you and the ego aspect of yourself doesn't take over to try to keep you safe. Another very good example, how I believe travel really helps you grow and expand yourself beside, having new inputs and absorbing different cultures and environments, is the exploration of yourself and your fears. When you know and you go and put yourself in a uncomfortable, unfamiliar environment where you don't have any sort of ground or familiar anchor that you can rely on when you navigate those spaces. You're like in the unknown, you have no idea where you are, it's the first time you're there, you don't know the culture, and you come with all of those fears. Then being in those environments, they will bring all of those fears out of you, and the growth happens when you face it and are able to look at it, are able to acknowledge them without spiraling in them, and are able to, in the spot, transmute them and work on yourself for it to be acknowledged as a fear and not an actual fact, so you don't start projecting it in your environment. I don't want this to be too heady, so I'm gonna try to explain it in a different way. Despite the fact of knowing that you attract what you are, and whatever you focus on is kind of going to gravitate around you. Whatever you think of is creating a field around you that is projecting whatever is going on in your mind, and it's going to attract it to you, because you're literally an energetic match to those experiences, because you are entertaining them in your psyche. That's a different parenthesis, and I have an entire video that talks about how fear shapes your reality that I will link below. But here in this example, being in an unfamiliar environment, the beauty of it and how you can really feel the live growth happening is that because you are in an unfamiliar environment and you don't have any kind of anchors to relate to, then the beauty and the work of an alchemist is being in those unusual or unfamiliar or uncomfortable situations, being able to observe the inner fears starting to build up and being able to observe them before they get projected into the environment. And that to me is really the work of the true alchemist, because amidst uncomfortable ground, you are able to remain self-centered, composed, and in your inner essence and truth, that the fears in you and the ego aspect of yourself doesn't take over to try to keep you safe. Because this is what happens sometimes. We're in unfamiliar grounds, and the ego is gonna be there to protect you. The ego is a mental structure that is designed to create a sense of individuality, which is, it's not a bad thing. We need to come from the understanding that we are all expression of one and same life force in different flavors. But we all come from this one source of life, call it consciousness, call it universe, you name it. So in unfamiliar grounds, the ego is gonna want to, based on your memory and your past, is gonna want to keep this individuality and protect you, because wow, it's unfamiliar grounds, I don't know, I've never seen this before, I'm trying to make sense of my environment based on what I know, but none of this fits. So it's gonna be super easy to just remain in a state of like fear, anxiety taking over, because it's essentially signals that your ego is feeling uncomfortable and is trying to manipulate and control the external circumstances to bring about a sense of peace, which is a sense, an illusion of peace, because, to go on a side note, we don't have control over anything. So when you are in a familiar places, in your own home and like in your own town and with your own friends, there is a sense of predictability that makes you comfortable. But in reality, anything could happen to whatever sense of stability you're seeing around you. There can be a hurricane and just like take over the house, or somebody can win at the lottery and just change its environment, or there can be death in the family or a birth. It's like all changes that, okay, maybe a birth is not so unpredictable, but you get my point. So again, back to being in an uncomfortable and unusual and unfamiliar environment, it's just such a fertile ground for you to be able to grow as a soul, and being able to expand your sense of self beyond your ego. And ultimately, your ego also embodying more compassion and wider perspective on things, because it was exposed to more than its little bubble that it's been on since your birth, or since the few years you've been in this particular environment. So I can only advocate the benefits of not just traveling abroad for visiting and tourism, but if you have the chance and the privilege really to be able to live abroad for more than a month, for I would say at least 3 months, then the level of growth and how rich this makes you cannot be really captured in words. And so I highly recommend doing this. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here, and see you next time.